Oh, hello again. Today we're talking about stress and health. Uh, Important topic, one of the last ones that we're studying this year. And I'm sure you all are feeling the stress of the end of the year testing schedule. So hopefully you learn some good stuff here. This is something I have a lot of knowledge of. I've been through the academic rigors you're all going through. I've done that. I also have to deal with high levels of anxiety that I was just born with, so I've had to learn a lot of coping mechanisms. So hopefully I can help. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me anytime during class, before or after. All right, so here's the title. Um, Next one. These are just the topics that we're going to cover: stress and illness, and then the subtopics, and then promoting health, and the subtopics. And I'm just going to let you look at that. And here we go with more of the titles. And the first thing we're going to really hit on here is stress. What is it? It's a psychological state that causes physical illness. Stress is any circumstance, any, real or perceived, that threatens a person's well-being. Okay, we even feel when we feel stress, our ability to cope with it can be impaired. The first thing I'd like to point out is stress does not always have to be negative. We tend to think of stress as purely negative, and there is a lot of negative stress in the environment that we live in, but there's also a lot of positive stress, and we'll talk about that as well. Okay. Um, Prolonged stress combined with unhealthy behaviors may increase our risk for one of today's four leading diseases. Here we show heart disease, cancer, stroke, and chronic lung disease. What they have found is back in 1900, we had all kinds of other diseases that were the leading causes of death um, in our world. And a lot of them had to do with just getting a disease that was something that was unpreventable at the time. If you caught it, and you died because we didn't have a way to fix it. Today, the CDC basically says a lot of, is it half of the deaths in the U.S. are due to people's behaviors, their lifestyle choices, whatever. So I mean, it's kind of amazing when you look at how many people are dying, and we look at, it's because they smoked and then they got cancer, or they got alcoholism and then organs shut down, unprotected sex. Okay, they got a disease that way. Okay, not enough exercise. We'll just look around. I mean, ask yourself if you exercise at this point. Have you started a habit of healthy living? Okay, poor nutrition is so easy in this culture of ours, especially Western United States. Europe actually has better nutrition. They tend to eat better than we do. But we have this culture of more is better, more, more, more. Big gulps, supersize meals. We want a deal, and if we get the deal, we're going to eat it. And it was like before we really thought about the fact that do we really need this many calories? It's irrelevant. Then, of course, you've got drugs. We have a percentage of the population that get hooked on drugs. And, as I say in the States of Consciousness chapter, don't see a lot of, retired aging drug addicts in their 70s and 80s. They've usually died by then. Okay. All right, so we have this new field that they've developed called health psychology. Uh, Basically, its goal is to see how emotions and personality factors influence the risk of disease, what attitudes and behaviors prevent illness, okay, uh, and promote health and well-being. How do our perceptions determine stress, and how we reduce and control stress? So there's a lot that health psychology is looking at, the mental. Can we mentally overcome the problems that we're going to be faced with in a real world? Okay, it's sort of like the theory of the world's going to happen. How are you going to react to it? Is it going to be in a a mentally positive way, or are you going to let the situation dictate your mental outlook? Okay, and you give that a little bit of thought, and you start to learn techniques, if you're smart, how to deal with stressful situations. Stress can be adaptive. In a fearful or stressful situation, we can run away or save our lives, okay? It can also be maladaptive. Prolonged, chronic stress increases our risk of illness and health problems. So, breaking this down, obviously, if I'm, let's go with alligators in Florida. If I'm by the edge of a pond fishing and I'm not paying attention, and, as you know, so many bodies of water in Florida have alligators, and I'm fishing and all of a sudden an alligator leaps out at me and is trying to take me into the water. Well, there's going to be stress. I mean, that's normal. Okay, you're going to have all the hormones that get released, and all the reactions that go on when you fear for your life, and you're going to hopefully move quickly enough to avoid the alligator and move back away into a safer spot. That is good. That's adaptive use of stress. Okay. Um, Maladaptive would be something like, well, I guess as you're starting to come, being in a job you can't stand, being in a job where you have to go to work every day and you just don't enjoy it, and it's wearing on you. It's a stress. It's a non-ending stress of getting up every day and going to do something you don't enjoy. You don't want to be doing. You don't want to be around the people. You don't like walking towards the building you're working in. You may think that's minor, and it may be minor at first, but it can build. And that type of stress can increase the odds of illness, okay? It wears on your immune system, okay? And maybe you're losing sleep at night because you don't want to get up. And see, it all builds, okay? It's a slippery concept. At times it's a stimulus, okay, like missing an appointment. Oh, I gotta hurry up. I gotta get going, okay. And other times it is a response, like sweating while taking a test. So it depends on how it sort of propagates itself as to whether you notice it or not, okay. Okay, it is a process by which we appraise and cope with the environmental threats and challenges. So here you'll see, I think this is in the book, um, your response, as I said before, the world's going to happen. How do you respond to it? So what do they say? Math test. If you say, yikes, this is beyond me, you're going to perhaps be stressed to distraction. Whereas, I'm sorry, I was trying to see this. If you think you can handle it, you might become very focused and, I got to get this done and get it over with. Okay. So when short-lived stresses occur, it can help you adapt to situations. Long term, again, make you sick. This guy Walter Cannon proposed that the stress response was a fight or flight response marked by the outpouring of epinephrine and norepinephrine. We've talked about this in other chapters. So from the adrenal glands and the heart and so on and so forth. So he's saying that he's the first one to propose that, hey, this whole system of, acute response where, the alligator jumps at you and you release all these hormones and your muscles work better, your eyesight's more acute, you breathe in faster to bring more oxygen to your body parts to survive, okay? That was his response system theory. All right, then you have the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland control a lot of this, what goes on here, okay? Basically to secrete cortisol. It's a tough term. You guys can read it. It's not really in the scope of this course to get into all this, but cortisol gets, I guess, a bad rap sometimes, like too much cortisol. You're going to release cortisol when you exercise. You're going to release cortisol at different times in the day. And it does a lot of good things for your body, but prolonged release of cortisol, what they've found, and this is the latest research as far as I know, is that if you have constant release of cortisol, one of the things cortisol does is suppress our immune system. And when it does that, it opens us up to possible sicknesses, diseases that can come our way, which of course Nobody wants that. So be aware cortisol is a hotly debated topic at this point, as well as a very greatly studied uh, uh, hormone. Okay. All right, then you have Cellier, and this is one of the most widely accepted philosophies, theories out there. So you have the general adaptation syndrome, or GAS. Okay, ha ha ha, laugh at it how you wish. But Cellier, he came up with a stress response to any kind of stimulation is similar. The stressed individual goes through three phases. So the first you have is you're actually the stressor event. It occurs and you react. Okay, that's phase one. And honestly, I can't read this. I gotta hold on. Are we going? We're going. Okay. So now, okay, I can't tell if I'm. Okay. So basically what you'll have here is you're going to have the moment you have the stressor, your body is going to take a hit. You're going to have the alarm reaction. You mobilize resources in your body to adapt to the stress. Then in the second portion, phase two, you're going through resistance. Your body's trying to resist the stress. If it's a sickness, it's basically your body's fighting it. Then eventually you hit phase three where you can no longer fight a certain stressor if it goes too long or if it's too powerful. And then you end up in what's called exhaustion. Okay? And when you hit exhaustion, that's when you possibly can, of course, die. Um, those of you who are interested in exercise theory, this GAS theory follows straight along with lifting weights, for instance. You have the initial stress, your body's trying to adapt, you go through your weightlifting, okay, and so your body tries to adapt to, oh, you want us to lift heavier weights, so the body tells the muscles to grow, and hopefully you give your body enough rest time for the muscles to adapt. But of course, we all know if you overtrain, which is a very high possibility, your body can't react fast enough and your body starts to break down, and that's when you would go into your exhaustion phase. So anyway, that's just a little side note for those of you who are interested. All right, some other things, stressful life events, okay? And there are many, okay? Again, there's always this idea that stressful means negative. Some are positive, and I'll get to those. But first, we have catastrophic, okay? Earthquake. Obviously, people really don't do well after earthquakes, and especially major ones. Obviously, if you're, if you were injured, that's obvious. But if you survived it, and let's say, whether or not your house was destroyed or not, it's just something that we assume, all of us, that it's going to be permanent. The ground doesn't move underneath us. For most of our lives, it doesn't happen. But when you live in an area that's got a lot of earthquakes, it can play psychological havoc on you. It can. I'm not saying it always does. Combat stress, floods, of course, and you can lead to depression, sleeplessness, anxiousness. People are always worried about aftershocks with earthquakes. Those can always be a problem. Significant life changes, death of a loved one. Okay, that's always a difficult one. They actually say you shouldn't make any major decisions in your life when you lose a significant other for up to about a year, before a year. It's because you can be in a sort of a fugue, I guess you could say, where you're not making decisions very well. So, like deciding to sell your house or move to another part of the country is often, many people say, was a mistake and that they made too soon. So, anyway, something to think about. Divorce is obviously a life-changing event, very stressful for people. Loss of a job, a promotion. So here we go. Here we go with a positive thing. A promotion, okay, is a positive thing, but it can be stressful. It's a new job. It's more responsibility. Another thing that can be very stressful, marriage. I know you don't think of it that way, but it can be, it's all of a sudden you're willing to take this other human being into your life, and as you say, forever. Um, and it's going to change. It's not about just you anymore. It's about we. And that is a big jump for people. As well as at your age, a lot of you are hitting that 18-year-old point where you graduate from high school and move on to whatever you're going to do next. Another major life change, and it's a very stressful time. I think most of you are probably nodding your head. It sure is, and I know this. So again, it can be having children, changed my life. Retirement is another one that I hear. I haven't done it yet. Done it. I'm always retired, always working on it. Okay. Um, take a little piece of my retirement every day. But retirement, I understand in earnest, can be stressful because now you have to think about how to spend your days differently than perhaps than you used to. Okay. So anyway, I'm just trying to point that out that it can open you up to being to disease. Daily hassles. Okay. I'm always big. Yes, I don't know if you figured this out about me or not, but I'm always trying to find a way to simplify my life. Simple, simple, simple. Rush hour traffic, okay? People hate it. People don't like to be stopped on their way to something or from something. And unfortunately, the world we live in is a very crowded place, especially when we live near the cities, and we live in one. And as most of you know, I-4 is not a fun place to sit, and I avoid it like the plague. I live over here on this side of Orlando. Don't go towards Disney. Don't go towards I-4 unless I absolutely have to. My commute is about 3 to 5 minutes to and from work, and for the most part, that's all I do. At one point, I switched schools to another school in this town for 1 year, and my commute went from like 5 minutes to a 12-minute commute, and I can remember complaining to my wife that I hated it. So most people would think a 12-minute commute is pretty good. I didn't like it. So long lines, job stress, okay, burnout. Any of us can burn out on things. So there's a theory going around that maybe we're not all supposed to do things. We live in a world where specialization is valued. Become specialized and you'll make more money and you'll live a better life and blah blah blah. Well, I know for me, I'm not hardwired that way. I could never becoming a doctor is just too much of one thing for me. I have too many interests, and in order to be a doctor, you have to, be just excruciatingly focused on what you're doing, and that just isn't how I work. And so some of you may not work that way either. And teaching can be a stressful job, and it's not uncommon to hear teachers just burn out. And I reached that point many times later in the year. I try not to get overly burned out, but summer breaks are good for me because it allows me to recharge. Some teachers burn out to the point where they go, I am not coming back, and I hope not to get there. Stress and the heart. Okay, so the heart can actually have damage from the release of all these hormones that are in the bloodstream for too long a period of time. And this is where we have coronary heart disease, clogging of the vessels that nourish the heart muscle. So you want your arteries and veins to be wide open, okay, so that the max amount of blood can go through there and carry oxygen to and from all your cells at the highest rate, as well as remove toxins at the highest rate. As you see here, where you have these closing down arteries, it's constricting the flow of blood, and that's not good, causing higher blood pressure. And then here you're talking about very clogged, and who knows what that's from. That could be all kinds of stuff, smoking, too many fatty foods, a million different things, but that is not where you want to go. Your personality type can have an effect. There's two major types, type A and type B, and I don't know if they're going to break it down more in the future. Someone's going to come up with a different theory that gets more pub. You guys know I'm big on personality. It's funny, I am by and large a type A personality, basically because of my competitiveness. When I do things and I get in a competitive situation, I want to win. and I get become very hard driving. I can become impatient, especially with my children, and I hate it. Um, and verbally aggressive, anger prone people. And it's not that that's a bad. It's not bad to be that way. Some people are just more driven, and it's bad for your body if you let it go on too long and don't learn coping mechanisms. Then you have type B, which refers to more easygoing, relaxed people. I guess your surfer mentality, I guess, life is good, Um, I know it got bad enough growing. The first time I ever heard the terms was when I was actually a sophomore in high school when my father was in the military and we went to he was picked to go to a sort of a graduate school for military commanders called the War College in Pennsylvania, and there they were trying to basically take these guys who were sort of the best and brightest of the military, who were going to lead the military into the next, evolution. And it was a year long we were there, but they took time to focus on some psychological um, problems they were noticing that these type A personalities in the military were having, because the military tends to be filled with type A personalities. And so what they were finding was, as these people would become more successful, and they would reach the top of their profession, these type A personalities were starting to have heart attacks and drop dead at really weird times, because the military tends to, focus a lot on physical fitness and, things like that. And they couldn't figure out, why are these people dying if we, are living good, healthy lifestyles and so on and so forth. And what they found was, it was your mental outlook can actually um, cause you to have coronary heart problems. And so they were actually teaching my dad, who was a very much a type A personality, to be calmer. And we used to laugh because there were some funny things. I can remember this one time when my dad got cut off. We were going to a football game when we were up there. Some guy cut my dad off going into the parking lot, and he got so angry, he screamed at this guy, "You blankety blank blank blank," and then all of a sudden he realized he was playing into the type A personality, and all of a sudden he just went, "I feel sorry for you." And it was like supposed to be this method to release stress. Feel sorry for people, okay? And it was so comical because we laughed on that forever, and my family still does, because he just he blew up, and then he tried to like contain Mount Vesuvius and push it all back in, and it wasn't really, we weren't buying it. But anyway, we could all use a little more type B, I guess, and relax. Pessimism pessimists tend to be twice as likely to develop heart disease over a 10-year period, as they show. So, having a more positive outlook on life releases better hormones, better stuff into your system to help you stay healthier. And it also may help you exercise more. If you feel hope, you're more likely to do the things that would keep you alive longer. Okay, hope's important. I'm going to stop on this one just because this is getting long and don't know what to tell you. A physiological illness is any stress-related physical illness, such as hypertension or headaches. So, hypochondria is a misinterpretation of normal physical sensations as symptoms of disease. So, basically, you could be a hypochondriac and think everything that you feel, you're getting sick or you're dying or something. Okay, and some people get hypertension because of this. But it's wrong to say it's fake, or they are faking it. It's a sort of a psychological issue. They're not dying of something physically, but the psychological issue is causing so much stress, it can actually create a problem long term. Interesting. So I'll stop there for now, and then I'll start again here in the next one. Bye.